Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Research Writing. We are on week 5, and you are now on the downswing of the class halfway through, so congratulations. You're doing a great job, and I wanted to let everybody know great work on your introductions and conclusions. They are in very good shape from what I've read. It is difficult to write an introduction, sorry about the light, and a conclusion when you haven't even written your body paragraphs yet, but I think you'll find that as you write your body paragraphs, that as you circle back to your introduction constantly to make sure that your topics support your introduction, that you'll kind of revise your introduction a little bit and your conclusion, and it'll tie together beautifully. Remember that the main point of the introduction is to identify your topic, to provide context, essential context, without giving away the answer to the problem that you're posing right away. You kind of want to save that for your body paragraphs. And then it's also to establish your paper's focus. That's why the thesis is so important. The conclusion, on the other hand, will give a sense of closure. It's not to introduce new information. Sometimes you want to throw in some last fact, but really you want it to just kind of summarize and give a broader picture of what you've already talked about. In your introduction, you really want to avoid purpose statements. Your reading last week talked about that, and you also want to avoid complex language. Your papers are academic in nature, and so there is an element of complexity to that, more in the voice and how you're writing, but you're not, for this class, you're not producing technical or scientific papers. So you really want to try to make your language not simple, but also like you noticed, many of you noticed in the discussion board, the introductory paragraph on Passover threw in some words that if you've never studied the specifics of Passover, you'd be a little bit confused by some of the Hebrew words that were used. So you just want to make it readable and understandable so that you don't lose your readers from the beginning. Some of you included some definitions for words that might be unfamiliar, and you did a great job with that, keeping it simple, but also defining things that aren't easily understandable. Let's see, look over my notes from your assignment and make any quick changes, but then you can also refer back to page 215 and 221 of Lester, which both have some great checklists for introductions and conclusions, and you can just kind of go through and ask, does my introduction meet these qualifications? The other thing I wanted to point out is that you want to make sure that your paper is written in the third person point of view. It's often tempting, and sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it, but to shift into third person plural. And what that is we or our or us. And what that does is it changes the point of view to my point of view, I, but it is actually more than just me. It's me and all of my readers. So you might be tempted to write something like, as Christians, we must remember that our pastors burn out. So using the word we and our, the pronouns we and our, then is saying that me and all of you we must remember that pastors burn out. And so you want to avoid using those third person plural pronouns. And on the hard copy, you can see this example and then a revised example. But basically, you're going to want to try to edit that out. And sometimes it's as simple as just removing the pronoun. Sometimes you have to revise the sentence. But in this case, if you said, Christians must remember that pastors can burn out, you've removed both instances of that third person plural, and the sentence is much tighter and more appropriate for academic writing. So third person is generally just more objective, and it uses pronouns like he, she, it, they, them, one, if they're used at all. If you're stumped on third person plural and what that is, what that point of view is, I've included a video link that you can watch. It also has some great instruction on pronoun agreement that might be helpful to you. And what I would suggest as you begin writing, and this is over the next 4 weeks, as you begin writing the rest of your paper, that not only you're paying attention to these issues with point of view, we're going to look at some more grammar issues and sentence structure issues as we get to, I think, the 6th and 7th week, but that you constantly circle back to that introduction and be checking in to make sure, have I gone off on a rabbit trail? Am I putting information out there that really isn't relevant or supporting my topic? And if you're doing that and asking yourself those questions, you'll keep yourself on the right track, because everything in your paper should give proof or support the claim of your argument. Now, for this week's assignment, you're going to be working on pagination. And many of you have already done it, and I've noted that on your paper. You've done it, and you've done it correctly. For this assignment, it's not pagination on your current paper that you're working on, the scaffolding. Moody has a separate sample paper that they want you to paginate on, and hopefully that will be fairly simple. There is a video under assignment 5.1, and you have to look for it, and I want you to watch that video a number of times if you need to, as you're working through that paper, as you're trying to paginate. And if you've never done pagination before, please watch that video more than once if you need to before you email me if you're stumped. If you still can't figure it out, absolutely reach out to me and we'll work through it together. Most of the time, what I find is that students don't watch the video and then they get really confused about how to make the pagination work correctly. Because you're going to want to use the lowercase I in your prefatory materials, nothing on the first page, but on the prefatory materials, you're going to want the lowercase I, and then beginning with your actual paper, then you use the uppercase with your last name. So it would be angle 1, angle 2. So again, make sure to see that video. Your assignment 5.2 requires some reading of web articles on plagiarism and then doing an internet search on the question, are canned sermons plagiarism? And it's very interesting. People have very strong opinions one way or the other. But what this is meant to do is to get you thinking about the issue of plagiarism and really the severity of it, the seriousness of it. And let's see, you're to write a 2 to 3 page paper giving your opinion on that topic from the research that you found. And then if you include information that from resources that you need to cite, make sure that you do cite them. It's a heavier week for homework. Last week was a little bit lighter, but plagiarism is a big issue, and we just want to kind of hammer that in now, especially if you're just starting your time at Moody, because it could become a huge problem for you if you accidentally miss something that should be cited or you intentionally plagiarize something. So we just want you to understand the fullness of it. So press on, and I'm praying for you. And again, if the pagination becomes a problem at all, please reach out to me, email me, and then follow up with a text so I know what the question is, and I'll make sure to include my cell phone again on the hard copy. So good luck, and again, I'm praying for you, and you're halfway done, so good job. Take care. Bye-bye.